We all know Samsung rules the phone world today, but their path to the top is built on a massive graveyard of abandoned smartphone lines. Millions of people bought these phones, entire marketing budgets were spent on them, and then Samsung just completely wiped them from existence. Here's the story of every major Samsung series that got quietly killed off. Long before the smartphone market matured, a vibrant and youthful energy dominated mobile design, and this is exactly where the story of the Galaxy Corby begins. Launched in the late 2009s and stretching into the early 2010s, this lineup was created to capture a younger demographic that cared more about social media and bright aesthetics than raw processing power. Samsung designed these devices with eye-catching, hot swappable back covers in bright yellow, orange, and pink, giving teenage users a way to express their personalities. It was an entry point into the touchscreen revolution, offering affordable access to basic web browsing. However, as the industry transitioned rapidly toward full-fledged operating systems, the simple interface of the Corby felt increasingly limited. The line became entirely unnecessary as true Android smartphones dropped in price, leading to its quiet cancellation as the company pivoted toward more capable hardware. As Google's Android platform began its massive global expansion, Samsung needed a reliable, pocket-friendly soldier to conquer the entry-level smartphone market, which gave birth to the Galaxy Ace. Debuting in 2011, the Ace series was engineered to look and feel like a miniature version of the premium Galaxy S flagships. It offered a respectable balance of software features and a clean aesthetic that made budget-conscious buyers feel like they were not missing out on the modern smartphone experience. Yet, the rapid evolution of mobile software quickly exposed the limitations of the series. As Android apps grew more resource-intensive, the modest processors and severely limited internal storage of the Ace lineup caused frequent slowdowns. Samsung eventually realized that maintaining a separate line for this specific tier was creating too much internal competition, resulting in the Ace being phased out completely in 2014 to make room for cleaner product categories. Targeting an even more cost-sensitive demographic, Samsung introduced the Galaxy Young to serve as the absolute baseline for mobile connectivity. Arriving in 2013, these tiny handsets were built for children or absolute beginners who required nothing more than basic calling and lightweight app usage. The Young series featured incredibly small displays packed into thick, highly durable plastic bodies that could survive being dropped on a playground. While it succeeded as an affordable introduction to the ecosystem, consumer preferences shifted with astonishing speed toward media consumption. As YouTube exploded in popularity, even the youngest users started rejecting these tiny, low-resolution screens. The extremely weak specifications meant these devices aged terribly within months of purchase. Samsung chose to discontinue the line when they restructured their entry-level portfolio, recognizing that modern users demanded larger displays, which were soon provided by the lowest tiers of the unified Galaxy A lineup. Nestled uncomfortably between the ultra-budget options and the emerging mid-range market was the Galaxy Core series. Emerging around 2013, Samsung created this line to provide a slightly elevated experience for buyers who found the Ace and Young series too restrictive but could not justify the price of a flagship. These phones brought slightly larger screens and dual SIM capabilities to everyday consumers, targeting developing markets where users frequently swapped network cards to save money. Unfortunately, the line suffered from a severe identity crisis as Samsung flooded the market with numerous variations like the Core Prime and Core Advance, which confused everyday shoppers. At the same time, fierce competition from rising Chinese manufacturers began delivering significantly better specifications for the same amount of money. The Core series quickly became redundant, prompting management to pull the plug and consolidate these mid-tier efforts under a single, more recognizable banner. Before giant displays became standard across the entire mobile industry, having a big screen was a luxury reserved exclusively for those who could afford the most expensive devices on the shelf. Samsung recognized this massive market gap and launched the Galaxy Grand series in 2013 to bring the phablet experience to the masses. The concept was straightforward, taking the expansive physical footprint of premium models and pairing it with modest internal components and a lower resolution display. This allowed media lovers and older users to enjoy a massive screen without paying premium prices. However, this success eventually sowed the seeds of its own destruction as display manufacturing technology advanced rapidly. Within a few short years, high-definition panels became incredibly cheap to produce, allowing competitors to offer large screens that did not compromise on sharpness. Realizing that a dedicated big-screen budget brand no longer made sense, Samsung Samsung discontinued the Grand lineup and integrated large displays directly into their mainstream mid-range phones. While the Grand series focused on making large screens affordable, Samsung decided to push the boundaries of human hand anatomy to the absolute limit with the introduction of the Galaxy Mega. Debuting in 2013 with screen sizes of 5.8 and 6.3 inches, this series was an ambitious experiment designed for extreme media consumption and heavy multitasking. Samsung created the Mega to cater to a unique niche of power users who wanted a tablet experience but still needed a device that could fit into a pocket. Ultimately, the Galaxy Mega became a victim of its own prophetic vision. The industry quickly adopted thinner bezels and taller aspect ratios, which allowed manufacturers to fit massive displays into much narrower and more comfortable bodies. The wide, bulky chassis of the Mega series became completely obsolete once regular flagships could offer similar screen real estate without requiring two hands just to hold the device securely, causing Samsung to retire the name permanently. No discussion about discontinued Samsung devices could ever be complete without honoring the absolute giant that completely redefined the modern smartphone landscape, the legendary Galaxy Note series. When the original Note arrived in 2011 with a massive 5.3-inch display and an integrated stylus, the tech world was intensely skeptical. Samsung created this series to cater to business professionals and digital artists who demanded maximum productivity. The signature digital stylus provided an unmatched level of precision for note-taking and sketching. Against all odds, the Note completely transformed public perception, proving that the world wanted larger screens. The series enjoyed years of dominance until it faced a catastrophic public relations crisis in 2016 with the explosive battery failures of the Note 7. While the brand recovered, its long-term survival was challenged as the standard Galaxy S line grew larger and adopted identical display sizes. To streamline production costs and elevate their new folding devices, Samsung discontinued the Note series after the 2020 generation, officially replacing it by building the digital pen slot directly into the Ultra model of the Galaxy S lineup. During the golden age of flagship expansion, many consumers felt alienated by growing device sizes, prompting Samsung to launch the Galaxy S Mini series. Starting with the S3 Mini and continuing through the S4 and S5 Mini variants, this line was explicitly marketed as a way to get the premium experience in a compact, one-handed form factor. Buyers initially rushed to purchase these devices, expecting the same blazing fast performance of standard flagships wrapped in a smaller package. However, this strategy quickly resulted in widespread consumer backlash. Buyers soon discovered that Samsung had severely downgraded the internal specifications of the Mini models, equipping them with weak processors and mediocre cameras. The series gained a negative reputation for being a deceptive branding exercise. As consumers became more educated about mobile hardware, sales plummeted dramatically. Recognizing that the Mini branding had become toxic, Samsung abandoned the series after 2014, eventually shifting compact phone lovers toward the premium tiers of the versatile Galaxy A series. In a relentless effort to squeeze sales value out of their successful designs, Samsung introduced the Galaxy Neo series to recycle older flagship templates. Models like the Note 3 Neo and the S5 Neo were launched to give budget-conscious buyers a taste of past flagship luxury at a deeply discounted price point. Samsung created this lineup by taking the exterior chassis of an older premium model and stuffing it with cheaper, less capable modern components. While it allowed consumers to walk around with a phone that looked expensive, the strategy created immense confusion in the marketplace. Shoppers found it incredibly difficult to understand why they should choose a Neo over a brand new mid-range device. Tech enthusiasts heavily criticized the lineup for diluting premium branding. The line quickly became entirely unnecessary as the company realized that dropping the retail price of previous year's flagships was a far more effective strategy. The Neo brand was quietly axed, clearing the way for a more structured portfolio. For adventure seekers, construction workers, and clumsy users who found regular smartphones far too fragile, the Galaxy S Active series was an absolute godsend. Running from the S4 Active in 2013 until the S8 Active, Samsung created this line to deliver true flagship performance inside an indestructible military-grade housing. These phones replaced elegant glass backs with heavy-duty plastic bumpers and physical navigation buttons that could be operated while wearing thick gloves. They also boasted significantly larger battery capacities than their standard counterparts, building a passionate following among outdoor enthusiasts. Despite its clear utility, the Active series eventually ran into a wall of technological progress. Samsung managed to introduce high-grade water resistance to their standard glass flagships, eliminating the main reason people bought the rugged variants. Furthermore, as curved displays became the definitive signature design of the brand, engineering a rugged frame around curved glass became an expensive nightmare, forcing Samsung to discontinue the active line in favor of specialized enterprise X-cover devices. The fierce battle for smartphone dominance requires specific regional strategies, which is why Samsung engineered the Galaxy C series. Launched in 2016, this lineup was created as an exclusive weapon to fight back against the meteoric rise of domestic brands like Huawei and Vivo in China and select Asian markets. Samsung noticed that Chinese consumers preferred premium all-metal unibody designs, massive amounts of random access memory, and heavily customized software experiences at aggressive price points. The C series delivered exactly that, featuring ultra-thin metallic designs that felt incredibly premium. Unfortunately, the C series could not save Samsung's fortunes in the region, as domestic competitors continued to undercut them on price. Shifting consumer loyalties caused Samsung's market share to plummet, rendering a region-specific mid-range line financially unviable. Samsung chose to discontinue the C series, focusing instead on a unified global approach by elevating the build quality of their mainstream global models. To truly understand how Samsung arrived at its current success, one must examine the rise and fall of what was once their most commercially successful volume driver, the massive Galaxy J series. Introduced around 2014, the J lineup was created to be the undisputed ruler of the global budget and mid-range markets. Samsung poured immense resources into these devices, equipping models like the J7 with beautiful Super AMOLED screens, a feature completely unheard of in the budget segment at the time. This strategic move allowed everyday consumers to experience vibrant colors without breaking the bank, turning the J series into an absolute juggernaut. However, this massive empire eventually became far too large and unwieldy. Samsung expanded the line aggressively, creating an endless maze of variants, including the J Pro, J Prime, and numeric models spanning from J1 to J8. This fragmentation completely overwhelmed consumers, who found it impossible to tell which phone was better than another. Recognizing that the brand image had become synonymous with cheap hardware that was losing ground to fresher competition, Samsung chose in 2019 to completely kill off the J series, merging its remnants into a totally revamped Galaxy A lineup that continues to dominate the market today. Which of these dead Samsung series do you miss the most, or did you actually own one of these forgotten devices back in the day? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below, and if you enjoyed this look back through smartphone history, make sure to smash that like button and subscribe to the channel so you never miss our next video.